Hi, Ron. Hello, you're the first one here.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I do. Thanks.
Hi. I have some thoughts to add if we have time. So we'll see. And then I got another topic about that. I listened to a family family history library webinar this morning that was pretty interesting. So I'll pass that on too. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I did have this very interesting call from Michigan library asking about a boy who, according to the 1900 census, was adopted. It says he was the adopted son on that census. Have you seen that sort of thing before? Where they
I've not seen an adopted son. Do have, or my wife has, an adoption, or I'll say adoption. We aren't exactly sure. In her family, her grandfather on her dad's side was adopted, and we haven't been able to really prove that yet. And he may have been involved in the Orphan Train situation because they were down in Oklahoma and Texas. So still searching. But no, I've not had to deal with an adoption.
Well, in this case, the only reason they think it's adoption is that 1900 census that lists the person as an adopted son.
Yeah.
I looked into it and they thought that they might find adoption papers here in Door County. And we're talking about someone who was born in either 1875, 1880, or 1884. They're not sure.
Okay.
And the fact is, the father of this boy, the father who adopted him, came here in 1888. So I don't think, when I finally looked into it, I don't think that the papers would be here.
No.
So I asked Mike Gallagher, who does a lot of genealogy, what you have to do to get adoption papers. And he said you have to, in Wisconsin around 1990, they changed the laws and they withdrew all of the insanity papers, adoption and guardianship papers from the vital records and have them in a separate location. And you have to petition a probate court judge and pay a fee in order to access papers. But it seems to me you're going to have to know where the person was adopted to do that. So,
yeah. Well, the way in our situation, it was the family lore was always that he was adopted. Okay. But I couldn't find any papers. And then I went to cause it's down in Oklahoma. And I finally went to the so-called father's probate records. Okay. And he had like 5 children from another one woman, and she died. And then he had 1 child from another wife, and they were still married when this so-called adoption took place. Okay. And in the probate records, he gave the father, when he died, left money, of course, to the wife, and he left money to some of his living other children. He did not leave any money to this boy. Okay. Of course, the boy was 21 at the time. But all the other kids were older. He was the youngest. And so it makes me believe that, he really wasn't adopted, that he was just maybe taken in. And that's even harder to figure out. So,
yeah. So adoption is a tricky thing.
It is.
So I looked into this, you get carried away, and even though it's not my genealogy, you start looking up, and this, the person who was supposedly adopted moved here in 1888 and bought up the Exchange Hotel and ended up turning it into the Van Dam Hotel, which apparently was, or Vendome, or how would you pronounce that? It was basically in Martin Park. It's the location of that, and he made it very fancy. But then he tried to sell it years later, and it wouldn't sell, and then all of a sudden it burned down. Meanwhile, he moved to Chicago.
What do you think about that? The Door County fire.
What I found, Laura, I was snooping around too, briefly, but it
Okay.
indicated that it was the Reynolds Mill property site where he decided to build the Hotel Vendome or whatever. Now, I was thinking of Reynolds Orchard, out that area, but I don't remember anything. You think it was Martin Park?
I found it, I found the Exchange Hotel on the Sanborn fire map.
Maps. Okay.
And that was, I think, 1885 before he changed the name. And that was on the corner of Martin Park, where they have that swing, that
Yeah.
corner. So
Where's
I did
Martin
find it.
Park? Where's Martin Park?
It's right, it's where they have concerts.
Oh, in Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah. in
Yeah,
Sturgeon.
okay, I know where you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where you are.
Did
Hop,
you?
skip and a jump across the canal.
Yeah. I'm trying to go through my goofy notes I quick did, but there were some, I was searching Family Search and then newspapers.com. That's all I had time for. But with the William J. Cromwell, the child of Thomas, there were confusing, and I don't know if there was a second marriage or what, but it indicated in some areas that this William J.'s wife was Clara Colum.
Yeah, that was the first wife.
Okay, then there was another one with a Clara Herbst.
Yeah.
Now, was Clara Colum and Clara Herbst one and the same?
No, I don't think so. I know that I went to the Wisconsin Historical Society vital records pre-1907. And the only two things with that spelling of the name, which is similar to Cromwell without the W, were two things. One was the wedding, which occurred here with Clara Colum here in Door County. And the other one was a character, I'll tell you, you wouldn't believe it. But her name was Helen Colum or Cromwell. But she was the wife of one of the sons of William. And it turns out she's a really big character. If you look her up on the State Historical Society website, you'll find an article about her. Her nickname was Dirty Helen. And if you Google Dirty Helen, what is her last name? Cromwell? Cromwell. You'll find tons of articles about her. And apparently the librarian said there was a book written about her. And she ran a tavern in Milwaukee. And
I was in that place. It's right along the river. Next, oh, good Lord, there were wild stories about Dirty Helen.
And Bordello or something also there. So you were in there, huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
I was on the oh golly, what was it? There was in the 70s and 80s, there was a like a James Bond kind of
international exports.
Okay.
Is that
And
what
I went there in the 60s. It was called International Exports.
Yeah, you had to have
down Water Street.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. It was
Water,
kind of right behind
Water
the
and Kilborn.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Go there. I worked right across the street from it. We used to go there after work.
You all know. Her
yeah.
husband was George or
Yeah.
Guy Grummel from Door County.
So that Dirty Helen of Milwaukee was connected. Oh, well, I'll be darned.
And he was partly, I guess, a part owner of the CC
Wow.
Club. Does anyone remember that?
Yeah.
So he ended up staying here and died in Fish Creek. But that's a really good story there.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. But I thought, and the other odd thing I found is his father, Thomas J., in two places on Family Search, they said his wife was Patricia Porter, but they also showed it was a Patricia Graham.
Yeah, there's three,
Oh.
one family tree on Ancestry has three different possible women.
Yeah, yeah.
So how could anyone find out if his son was adopted? That's the big question.
I know. That's what I kept going down the path of all these interesting stories, of course. Bright, shiny object, as I like to do. And
Yeah.
but I didn't have time for any in-depth.
But I'll say Helen seems like one of the most interesting characters I've come across in a while.
So you think that Clara Colomb was,
She's the mother of Guy, who's the first or the husband of Dirty Helen.
oh, okay, all right.
And Dirty Helen, was born in 1886, and Guy was born in 1903.
Oh, well,
So he was pretty young, I think, when he married her.
yeah. It's,
Really interesting history.
I wish the lady who called you would get online so we could question.
Well, I was called by the librarian, but I think she's
Oh.
also related to this
Oh.
family.
Yeah, well. Anyway, it's kind of fun for a couple hours yesterday.
Yeah. So welcome to everyone who's joined. And we have a whole list of people who are not able to come today, but we still have a good turnout. So what, Tom, do you had a couple things you wanted to tell us about?
Well, you said in your note, you talked, well, I guess we're going to talk about the cloud a little bit later. Is that the idea?
Yeah, if we have time.
Yeah, okay, all right. When you mentioned adoption, I just tried to find some records on adoption. And so a couple places that I went was, to the Family Search Wiki. And they did have a set of records, says early adoption records before 1900. And I didn't know what state it was, so I didn't look for Wisconsin. I guess it's Wisconsin. I didn't look for that. Also in the the Roots Tech sessions, they had quite a few, I would say maybe 10, 12 or more, maybe even 15 different sessions that you could listen to, which, anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes long on researching adoptions.
Wow.
Some of it, and you can go to that, you don't have to pay to get to the sessions on Roots Tech, like I said last week or 2 weeks ago. All you need to do is just go to Family Search, go to the Roots Tech thing in Wiki, and that you can log on. It's free. You just need your Family Search ID and password, and then you can search all these all these sessions. And there's supposedly, I don't know, they said 1,500. I didn't count them. I believe them. They said there's 1,500, but there was quite a few on ancestry. On adoption. So I was going to pass that on to whoever that person was that was asking.
Okay, I can still call and let her know.
Yeah. So I had that, and of course, there's even one on the Orphan Train. There were some sessions on the Orphan Train, because the one I've been researching, I think I'm sure I've mentioned this before. My wife's father's grandfather, my wife's father, so it'd be her grandfather. He was adopted in Oklahoma, and unfortunately, before Oklahoma was a state, so depending on where it took place, it was either in the Oklahoma Territory or it was in the Oklahoma or Indian Territory in Oklahoma. Because basically, I-35, the history is that west of I-35, which runs north-south through Oklahoma, was Oklahoma Territory, and then east of it was Oklahoma Indian Territory. And depending on where it is, the records are either in Oklahoma City or they're in the National Archives or Fort Smith, because that Fort Smith, Arkansas, was the one that controlled that area. In fact, remember the hanging judge? There was in a movie about the hanging judge. Well, he was a judge at this time period. So anyway, so I don't know. I looked just mentioned before that I looked at the supposed person who adopted him to see whether or not he identified him in his will, and he did not, which leads me to believe that this boy, which turned out to be the grandfather, never was adopted. They just took him in as basically a servant, and then they raised him and provided room and board. And I did, working on this, I had stopped at the historical center near where this was in Oklahoma, southern Oklahoma, trying to find out about, since it was Indian territory, where I might go and to find. And the woman there said that the Indians, if he was an orphan, the Indians took in, excuse me, they're not Indians, they're original people. No, what's the correct term for the Native American Indians now? There's a
Indigenous.
Well, it's indigenous, but there's also another one.
Aboriginal?
No, it's like First Peoples or something like that. Anyway,
First Nations.
First Nation, that's it. First
In
Nation.
Canada,
So anyway,
they
they would
refer
take
to
it.
it.
They had a lot in this area, since they were civilized tribes. They had a lot of orphanages for the Indian boys or First Nations kids. Okay, and so they would take in regular white people and white kids. So he may have been in there. And he also may have been in the Orphan Train. And I'm trying to search that out, because when my wife did the DNA, we found connections, because it would be at the fourth cousin or above or newer. And there was all kinds of people never heard of. So I'm suspecting this an entirely different family, that where this fellow came from, so anyway, not enough of that. Well, the only other thing I had was this morning, and I recommend this to you again. This morning, I listened to another webinar from the Family History Library in Salt Lake. They're putting on, every month they put on a series of webinars on various topics. This one was on federal land sales and land records. And in Wisconsin, if you're in basically anything, really Ohio and west, okay, and even down to the south, except for Texas, was federal lands. And so the first people who came to that area, they would buy the land, and there would be a record, and you can get quite a bit of genealogy information from those records, and they are available through the General Land Office, which is the BLM. And so I listened to this, and this is free. And again, all you do is go to Family Search and go to their wiki and look for the webinars, and then you sign up, and you can listen to it during that time, and then at the same time they're recording it, and they put it on Family Search. So you can go to the Family Search Facebook page for Family History Library, and it'll be listed there. And I don't know how long they keep them. I'm assuming they keep them for quite a while, maybe 6 months or more. So I highly recommend it, because they're very good. They're given by people who are actually working at Family History Library and Family Search on these topics. It's not, so they're the experts, so I had those two things to add. Okay.
Thank you. And didn't you say you started using the software that was?
I did. Yeah. Steve, you caused me all kinds of grief, because or Steve Osterhaus, because you mentioned about treemaker.com. So I went to that, and I started looking at it, and by golly, it works out real fine for me.
Isn't that pretty slick?
And yeah, and so I downloaded my Roots Magic, GenCom file. I put it into Family Tree Maker. And the first thing I discovered was that I've been doing the the sources and source citations all wrong. So now I got all these source citations that are wrong. And so now I got to go back through and because they're wrong. I mean, it's just the wrong format, they're just absolutely wrong.
Mine got flip-flopped. My
Yeah, right, exactly. I got a
sources
flip
and
flop.
sources became citations. I don't know how.
Yeah,
Not because I
instead of
transferred it,
sources,
just
I have
when
all
got in
these,
there.
I have these source citations, which are really, I have it set up as sources. So I got to go
Yeah.
back and make them, sources and then citations. And actually I'll end up with considerably less sources, really.
Exactly.
Because I've got a different source citation source for every instance of where I've used that source, which is not the way you do it. Okay.
One of the things when I converted, I found it took like when I'd have maybe 10 census reports from 1900 or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, now I only have 1 or 2 and the rest of them became
Yeah.
citations or attached to it so you can track it. So it did that just in the transfer.
Well, I guess I was either further wrong because mine didn't do that. I ended up with all this whole list of
Good, I'm glad
very
that worked out. I've been playing around with it, and just as an aside, you're talking about the orphans, and I don't know if this would help or not, but Dick Eastman's blog, this
yes, I saw that. I haven't had a chance to.
He referred to WorldCat, and I'd heard about WorldCat, but I'd never really used it. So I dug into that a little bit just to see something, and I threw one of my wife's family or people in, or one of my family people in there because we can't find them. And I got tons of information, so you have to narrow it down. And I ended up finding a person in Kansas, not too far from where we know my great grandfather had been at one time in the 1930s. So it may be a wild goose chase, I don't know, but it's just another source. But there's nothing there that is index. It's not indexed, but the documents aren't available through WorldCat. All it does is give you the source. Many of them in the library, Laura.
It is a library catalog. It's a big.
You go through the library and you can get the documents or the books or whatever, I think, for us.
Well, and here's how it works, just so you know. We used to use WorldCat for getting interlibrary loan for our library here. And then we switched to WizCat, which is a local catalog, including Minnesota and Wisconsin, basically. But the rules say you cannot borrow genealogy books.
Right.
What they do is they'll send you something from the table of contents or index or on something on a scan of a specific person, but they will not send the whole book.
Right. Then you can go. You have to go find the source for yourself somehow, if you can.
Yeah.
Well,
Problem.
You know where it is.
Steve, and how did you discover the information on the person that you entered? If it was,
Yeah, I was just trying to play around with it and something, popped up more than I thought. First of all, I just put in our surname, Osterhaus, and just did a broad search on it, and 100,000 hits came up or something like that, including a general from the Civil War, but he's not related, unfortunately.
Which side?
Union, unfortunately. And then, so I started narrowing it down to a couple of different people, and we know that there was another branch of our family that somehow relocated, didn't go to South Dakota. They ended up in Nebraska on the Nebraska-Kansas line. And I found an individual that was living in Kansas now. And I've got some family branches to track there, and that's going to be into my tree. I'm trying to find my great grandfather because he kind of ran away. He wasn't a real sweetheart of a guy.
But Steve, how did you find that if you could not get the book to look it up in?
Well, that's where I'm at right now.
Oh, you're trying to get the books?
It can be a paper, it can be a book, it can be it might refer you to even a website, I guess,
okay. So you just in this list of
right.
It's a huge library catalog.
It's a huge. Remember the old Dewey Decimal System? It kind of reminds me of how you go through all the little cards and everything. Well, that's kind of what you're doing in this, only it goes much faster. And
you keep clicking and clicking and clicking.
Well, yeah, and you just keep taking that database and shrinking it down until you can get something that's manageable. And like I said, I came up with a name and I haven't had a chance to dig through it yet, but I'll pursue it. It's just another way of finding information.
A lot of family histories have been cataloged in libraries all over the world. So that's a lot of what he's talking about. And
And
also,
I haven't even gotten into that part of it. There's so
Well,
many.
I guess the thing is, if they're indexes or card catalogs and they won't give you the book, how the heck can you go further to get information unless you're just guessing your person might be?
Well, sometimes you can go through your local library and there may be a book that Laura can find, or there's a library that you're associated with through your local library that can get it for you. Or one of the people even indicated, they said, just get a card at the New York library or places around the country, and then you might have access to getting that information and backdoor it through Laura or somebody at our library.
a lot of them are
Laura?
digitized.
Does that work?
A lot of books are digitized.
Yep.
And you might be able
Depends
to
on-
find them that way.
You might get
Isn't it
lucky.
effective? Depends on what the copyright is, isn't it? If the copyright is expand or expired?
WorldCat is free, but getting the information might not be.
Yeah.
Say, when I ask for information, they'll say, we'll send a scan of a few pages about a specific person or
Oh.
the table of contents or the index. They won't send the whole book. A lot of these are
Yeah.
pretty rare.
That might be all you need.
Yeah.
I had that experience
paragraph.
searching for help for Ann Lewis, Tom. And Christina at the Sister Bay Library was able to, there was a book that was available at the Wisconsin, I think the Historical Society in Madison. And they wouldn't send the book, but they did scan a few pages. And that was enough information for Ann's purposes. So even if it were a library in Kansas or wherever, you may be able to contact them and they may be nice enough to do that for you.
I know I tracked down my grandfather to a specific city. I can't think of the name of it right now, in Kansas. And he had kind of ended up there through Omaha, and he was following where they were building the road. And he was a carpenter, so he kind of followed where the work was, I guess, after he decided to abandon the family. And I found the place that he was supposedly at, because he was in a boarding house there. So I called their library and they referred me to the commissioner's office for the county. And I talked to the county commissioner and he said, oh, one of our people's family's been here a long time. Let me have him call you. And the guy did call me, and his father and grandfather had lived there when all of this was taking place, but they didn't have any recollection of my grandfather's or great grandfather's name. So but he went and walked the graveyard. There was a graveyard for unknowns or people didn't have any money, the indigent, and they would just sometimes put a headstone down and write the person's name on it. He walked that old graveyard. He didn't find anything, but so
Wow.
sometimes you get people like that are willing to really help you.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah, maybe.
Tom, I have a question.
Yes.
When you did your GEDCOM from Roots Magic to FTM, what did you do with the media? How'd you get that over?
Well, okay, the media, I just didn't have to bring it over because the media was already on my computer separate.
Separate.
It's
Okay.
not part of Roots Magic. It's linked to,
Yeah.
there's a link to individual files as necessary, but it's not part of it.
Yeah, they keep a separate file, and mine all
Separate
came over
file, so.
perfect.
Yeah, so there wasn't a problem. Now, I
And a
know
much better
that,
quality picture too, by the way.
pardon me?
Mine were a much better quality than Roots Magic.
Yeah, well, I think so. I mean, there's a lot of, after using Family Tree Maker, I can see where Roots Magic has got a little, well, you only pay $29 for Roots Magic. You pay normally what, 79 or 80 some
Right,
dollars?
I got mine
maybe
for
even
40, I
100
think.
for Roots Magic or for Family Tree Maker. And I got it on a special, $45. Yeah, I think it
mine
was.
$40.
Yeah. I thought, hey, it's worth a try. Now I got all kinds of work.
I apologize, Tom, but yeah, you need something to do these days.
It's not like I don't have anything else to do. No,
I
yeah.
know.
Let's go with it. You
I
might
have-
be able to, if you've got someplace like in Kansas, you know, and you might contact the if there's a historical society or a genealogy society, you know, there, they might be somebody there that would go and copy it for you, you
Right.
know, for a small fee, you know, just as a money raiser for the society.
And that was suggested to, that was suggested to me, but I didn't have
Yeah.
enough information to give the one
Yeah.
person that I was talking to for him to even begin looking. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but yes,
So-
I think a lot of the counties and the little, I don't know what they call them there, but going back to the territorial days, even have repositories of all that information. So
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right, Tom.
Yeah, and if you have an orphan train, many of those records are not digitized, but they are on, I think they're on a microfilm, but they're in the repository in a small town, which I can't think of, it's just by Kansas City and Columbia. And you can go there, you know, they'll look it up, but of course they're closed because of, you know, the pandemic. And, but you can go there and do your own research. But, you know, but there's three major sources of those orphans, and they were all three in New York City. There was two private entities, and then there was a Catholic charities. And some of those records are on, but you got to know a kid's name, you know, you got to know who the kid was. You know,
That's the problem with a lot of things.
That's the problem. I mean, I know the age he could have been, but I know what he looked like, but I don't know where, you know, it doesn't do me any good, you know?
You don't even know if they knew their name.
Yeah, I mean, he could have, who knows where he came from, but anyway, give me something to do later in life.
I love it. I love it when I get the question, well, aren't you finished yet with your
Yeah,
project?
right,
I
yeah,
said, oh my God, you're
Yeah.
never finished.
never finished. Well, you should show them, when they ask that question, you should show them that sheet where it starts out with you, and then it goes with your parents, and then the 4, and then the 8, you know,
And then
the
I've even
16.
gone to,
Yeah,
I forgot how many are on the sheet that you had, Laura, that I printed out.
yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
the blank form. I don't remember how many generations, 3 or 4 or 5.
Doesn't it?
I've got some that are 2 pages long after that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take too long to get 1,000 relatives.
You know, that used to, I belong to a lot of Facebook groups on genealogy, or on a lot of genealogy groups on Facebook. And I've weeded through some of them that are, you know, whatever.
Yeah, right, right.
But oddly enough, just reading the posts, generally speaking, I mean, some of the people are pretty anal about it, but for the most part, just reading through all the posts,
Yeah,
I've learned so much that they've been a great help just for, you know, reading through and picking up tips here and there. I haven't really been able to connect with any people of my family. I swear my family must have just, you know, via osmosis been here, because, you know, there aren't too many people. I haven't had a lot of success tracking down people, but I've learned a lot about genealogy and how to read documents, the abbreviations, in reading old wills, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of my go-to every morning. Takes me a long time to go through my Facebook genealogy groups.
Yeah.
boy, you should get one of those. I wonder if you can do a RSS feed on Facebook.
I
I don't
haven't
know.
anything quite like that.
I
Yeah,
don't
where-
know.
I don't know if you can do that on Facebook.
I don't think I've ever seen that. It's just a cascade.
No.
Sometimes you can get some cascades if you go to the actual group. Sometimes when you subscribe to it, you can just get their top or posts, but then you
Yeah.
can also pull up all of the replies to it and get it all in the 3 columns going on your screen.
Somebody fell. You still there, Ron?
I am.
You have an earthquake up in Sister Bay, did you?
Yeah, this little shake up here, yep.
Oh,
What has
Okay.
everyone else been working on?
I did my taxes. Um,
Yeah, mine are filed.
and I'm president of our homeowners association. So I've had a lot of stuff going on there. So I really, my dips into genealogy, I keep getting interrupted. It hasn't been fruitful yet, but keep at it. Just have to wait till the rest of life kind of settles down around me.
Yeah,
So I don't have too much to offer.
well,
I'm just trying to get myself organized on how I want to proceed with the necessary details, like Tom was saying, just to work through the sources and citations although you can print them all out, that's one of the nice things you've got. You can print them all out and then
Yeah.
work off of a piece of paper, which might be easier in some situations. But just trying to
Sometimes
clean up
it is.
all the material and all the things that I've accumulated on each person. And you get a lot of contradictory sources and dates and places they've supposedly resided or whatever. And so you got to sort through all of that because you just got to figure out which one's correct. And
Well, that's funny you said that, because in some of the time that I've had recently, I used to, oh golly, with probably no sources too, but information that I found, shoved it in the file folder for that person, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I started to go pull out the old paperwork and boy, there's a lot of stuff I forgot, I missed. I thought I was on the right track, and I know now that I was not. And so, get rid of that piece
Yeah.
type of a thing. So not a great organizational do-over type thing, but I've started to feel that I've accumulated so doggone much paper that I don't even know which end is up anymore. So I better start looking through some of this stuff. And
whenever I got anything, I just kind of scanned it or copied it and put it in the software program I have for the
Yeah.
person, because I didn't want to lose the fact.
well,
Then after about 5 or 10 years, you've got, all these little pieces you kept adding in and,
That's my
they don't
problem.
match up all the time. So now you
Right,
got to go
right,
back and
right,
dig it through
right.
again.
yeah. And I
Well,
don't
that
even I don't even have a program yet, a software program. I'm still on paper.
Right.
And
That's good.
and Excel. I've done created a lot on Excel
Well,
and so on and so forth. But pieces of paper. I mean, I tell you, I should have had an investment in the 3M company. I've got sticky notes all over the place.
One of the things I did, and this came off the conversation we had a couple of sessions ago, Tom, regarding note taking, Evernote,
Yeah.
what have you. Now the MacBook has notes, Apple has notes, and they've really improved it over the last 3 or 4 updates significantly. So I've now set up a folder for each of the 4 parent surnames and then sub them out to the next generation. Then I can sub those down to the next generation. So as I find information that I'm not able to put directly into my software, I just put it into my notes, and then someday I'm going to sit down and transcribe it all in, just transfer it into the software.
So then you could get rid of your little pieces of paper you scribbled stuff on. Is that it?
Yeah, and I just can't throw them out for some reason.
I know I can't either. That's my problem.
I don't have a lot of those. I've been doing it online for the most part.
How do you cascade in notes?
Pardon?
How do you cascade in notes? Break it down.
You
I
just
didn't know you
set up
could do that.
subfolders. You can set up subfolders.
In notes?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right, and then you can bring in photos. If you got photos you want
Yeah.
to throw into that particular.
Well, here I got my folders. I didn't know you could put in, okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just came out in the last couple updates. They've done that, and I think they're going to take it even further from what I understand. They want to compete head on with Evernote.
Evernote and OneNote, yeah, because OneNote is free, and Evernote is
also because it's part of your
charged.
software
Yeah.
program, so.
Yeah, yeah.
So all
You gotta
three
play
are,
with it, Tom. It takes a while to figure it all out, but you just play
Oh,
with
good.
it.
Just something else I need to learn, huh?
It's not hard. It's just a matter of learning which
Yeah,
one of the
right.
little icons to hit.
Yeah,
And you
right.
can put pictures in those note folders?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
It's like a portable hard drive sort of on, is that what it's like?
Pardon?
It's like a hard drive?
Actually, it's an app.
It's an app.
Yeah.
But with Apple, everything integrates. So if I want to move it from one app to another within Apple, you can do that. It's all integrated. If it's on
And then
my
ultimately, it stays,
laptop, it's on my phone, it's on my iPad. It doesn't, because it all goes through, everything's through the cloud.
yeah.
Oh,
it's
Like
all in the
OneNote,
cloud.
OneNote. I haven't worked with it yet, but,
OneNote's very similar. I mean, it's just the
and you can
Microsoft,
put pictures in OneNote too?
I believe so.
Yeah, OneNote from Microsoft, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't
yeah.
worked with it yet.
You can put pictures, you can put audio files too, if you want. You can do
Sometimes,
that.
sometimes I find photos on genealogy sites that aren't connected with anything. And so I'll just copy and instead of putting it into my photos folder, which has got thousands upon thousands of photos,
Right, right.
I'll move it right into notes. And now in ours, we have a little box with an arrow in it. You hit that and you can go down, ask you where you want to put it. And if you say notes, then it'll say what folder you want to put it in. You put it in that folder. It'll say what subfolder you want it in. And
I didn't know there were subfolders in notes. I'll have to look at that. Oh, good.
I have a question then. So in essence, depending on how you like it, Evernote, OneNote, and what you said, Steve, Apple Notes, if you had Apple, they're basically, they do the same thing. They're note-taking devices, correct?
well, I think Evernote's far more sophisticated and probably does a heck of a lot more things. But to me, whenever I played with Evernote, it's so confusing. It's almost like throwing everything into a big bushel basket and then you can never find anything again.
Yeah, but they basically are note-taking.
I like a little smaller format, and that's what Notes is. I think my OneNote's probably a little bit more than Notes, but
Okay. Well, where does Dropbox fit into the picture? I see that.
Dropbox, yeah, Dropbox is a service, is a cloud service that provides a variety of functions. When it first came out, it was just a place that you could put things to save them as
Mhm.
kind of a backup, if you want to call it that. Now it's become more of a resource for people to coordinate their work efforts. In other words, you can put your documents on, one of those cloud files, drop notes, whatever, and then other people can go up there and collaborate on the same document with you.
Oh, okay.
So what's the difference between that and OneNote or OneDrive?
Well, OneNote is pretty much just your stuff, but if you want to share it, you have to put it onto something like one of the other cloud services, because not everybody can get into iCloud easily, because that's the Apple product any more than you can get into Microsoft's. The name
Well,
of it.
Is
Pardon?
that the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
that they
You have to have
do
a-
with Google Docs that you can
Yeah, everybody has it, but
sharing?
Dropbox and that is more of a universal
Okay.
tool. And for example, what I did with all of our photos after I got them out of our boxes and I scanned them all in, I sorted them out by family surnames and then one more layer below that. And I put them up on the cloud and then I sent an email from Dropbox to all of my relatives that I wanted to have access to those photos and said, go up there and get them. I
Oh,
didn't have to send them anything, didn't have to get them on a CD, and they went up there and downloaded the files.
okay. So if you want your notes to be simply your notes, then you do not use Dropbox. You use
Well,
No,
you can freeze them,
yeah.
your access to them. A lot of people
Yeah, you
use
just-
Dropbox as their cloud service. I happen to use iCloud, but some people use Amazon Cloud or.
If you're just gonna use this yourself,
Mhm.
I would go with a free service, and that's going to be OneNote, or if you're on Mac, Steve's.
Yeah.
Whatever he said. What did you say it was? iNote or something like that?
Yeah, Notes.
Notes, okay.
Yeah.
If you're
It's already there. You don't have to do a thing.
right, exactly. And getting back, Dropbox, the nice thing about Dropbox, or the good thing about Dropbox, is you can store in a perfect world, you could use a Chromebook if you're a PC and store everything on Dropbox. And then you would, in the cloud, and then you could, when you wanted to work on something, you would go through Dropbox and you would access that file, work on it, and then it would automatically save it back in the cloud so that you're over in Timbuktu. As long as you have, internet service, you can get to it.
Yeah,
You know, that's funny you said that, Tom, because, and this kind of leads in a little bit, maybe what Laura was thinking of talking about.
Exactly.
I operate pretty much only in the cloud on OneDrive.
Okay.
I have very little on my C drive.
Yeah.
I don't know why, how it started, whatever. So every time I go to work on my projects, whether it's genealogy or my homeowners or whatnot, I just go in, bring down the file, do what I'm going to do, save it, it goes back up there.
It goes right back up and it's immediately updated.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm accustomed to that. I do sometimes wonder if I shouldn't put everything on a C drive and then save it to a OneDrive so I have two places.
Well, if I was you, what I would do is get yourself an external hard drive.
Right.
Okay. And save it to an external hard drive that sits on your desk.
Right.
Okay. As another backup.
I have one that backs up my thing every 50.
Yeah, I've got,
my computer is backed up.
I actually have 3 of them, but
About Dropbox though, the one thing they've changed now is they don't give you as much free storage as they used to.
I was going to say,
got it
I looked that up this morning and Dropbox gives you 2 gigabytes.
Right, which is nothing.
Box.com, which is almost the same exactly, it gives you 10.
Yeah.
Google Drive is 15 and Microsoft gives you 15.
And Apple gives you 5 free.
Say that again, Laura. I missed your, who gives you?
Dropbox gives you free 2 gigabytes of space. Box.com, which is the same thing, gives you 10 gigabytes. Google gives you 15 and Microsoft 15.
Is that OneDrive you're talking about then?
Apple gives you
Is up to
5, but
15.
then what you got to remember though, what Laura was just saying is, if you've got your photos up there, if you've got your music up there,
Yeah.
that all takes up space. Now, for example, with Apple, they only give you 5 gigabytes,
Yeah.
but you get all of your photos and your music pretty much taken care of separately on the cloud. So they don't charge it against your 5 gigabytes. I bought a 50 gigabyte plan, which is $12 a year, no big deal. Dropbox and Box.com are quite a bit more pricey, as I recall, Laura.
Well, those are, but you get 2 free gigabytes in Box.com, you get 10.
Right, but then what's it cost after that?
After that, yeah.
Then it's fairly pricey.
But I have Box.com.
Yeah.
And I was one of the first people to get it, so they gave me 50 gigabytes for life.
Oh.
But out of that, I've only used 5. And my sister,
my iCloud, I probably used 35, 40 of the 50 already.
yeah.
Really?
My sister scanned 900. My sister scanned 900 plus pictures from an album, and it's all in there. And she didn't do the highest resolution, unfortunately, but it's still on. All of those things are under 5.
Well, they'll compress it for you too, anyways. So.
And you can have multiple accounts.
Yeah, there are people in these genealogy groups who say they use the free stuff everywhere. So they've got some on
Remember
Dropbox, they've got some on iCloud, they've got some on like Box, not that yet, and stuff like that. So
I'm like you, Marilyn. We use our iCloud for everything.
Yeah.
I've got like one file drawer of stuff. That's it. I'm done. But even when we're traveling around the world, I've done my taxes from over in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
It's all on the cloud, and I just download the document, do what I want. And I have a VPN on it, so I have security. And
but here's another question too, that I do have an external hard drive. It's I don't know, what's it called, my passport or something. It's, and I plug it in and I dutifully back up, but I don't think you can back up from the cloud there. That's only backing up your computer.
I
Your
backed up your hard drive.
right. Okay. Okay.
Now, Apple's program, it's called Time Machine, and it backs up absolutely everything on your computer. All the operating systems, you name it, it's all backed up. So if your computer dies, which they all do it, so they've all got a life expectancy. And
What one is that, Tom or Steve?
pardon?
What one? What was the name of that one?
Time Machine.
Time.
But that's just for
that's
Apple.
Apple though.
Just Apple. And
Yeah.
everything is backed up. And then if I had to put a new computer together, I just go up to the cloud or I go to my Time Machine and it'll load everything on the new computer.
See, I'm PC. I've
Right. Well, I think I don't know if they have anything quite like that because the systems are a little bit different. But
I use Maximum Reflect, which is the same thing that is the program that Quantum PC recommends.
is that a third
yes,
party?
I have that
Yeah,
too, and that's how
Yeah.
I send it over to my external hard drive.
right. I have that running. It runs it does a new backup of the whole thing at once a month, and it does incrementals every Saturday night. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I also do family history, no, not family, file history through Windows. Okay, that is done every night. And that I save that to an external hard drive. Okay. And then that is backed up once a week to OneNote. So I've got 3 sources. I've got well, actually 4, I guess. I got the regular computer hard drive. I've got 3 different external hard drives, depending on what it is. Okay. And then I've also got, I got iCloud. I have small iCloud account from pictures on my iPhone, and I've got Dropbox. And each one, I'm like what you said, each one is a different task. And
that's good.
They're all automatic.
That's a good thing to do, to get multiple redundancy in there. I will take and back up my genealogy program to Dropbox. Theoretically, I like to do it every quarter just to have another source where I keep it. Probably
otherwise it's on your C drive.
It's on my C drive, it's on my backup drive, and it's on the iCloud. But I like a 4th one just in case the world goes to hell,
Well, you got to look at, you got to look at who's going to be around, Certainly Microsoft's going to be around, and certainly Apple's going to be around,
right.
And Dropbox, well, you would think so, but you don't know, and whoever else.
Well, there used to be a ton of
Reflect
those
is.
companies out there, and a lot of them went by. I had hooked up with one time, and all of a sudden I got an email from them that said, "Sorry, but we're not going to do this anymore."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Get your
Yeah.
files out of there and put them
And re-
somewhere else.
And remember, whoever you go with, they have redundancy too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. They have multiple redundancies. So
Probably 4, at least 4. Probably.
yeah. So you got a lot of backups.
You ever
Tom, what was the backup software you mentioned?
Me?
Yes.
Macrom Reflect. I'll get you the exact name. Hold on. Exact spelling. Where'd it go? I lost it. Oh no. There it is. Are you there?
Yep.
Okay. Macrium. And then Reflect. Okay. And they have a free version, which
I've got the free version.
Yeah, I do too. I just use a free version.
Yeah, but Tom, I think with the free version, I only manually, I manually send it to my external hard drive. Can you schedule it?
Oh, okay. No, you're right. You're right.
Okay.
You're right. It backs it up to a file, and then I manually put it over there. You're right.
Oh,
But
okay.
that's once a month. Okay. The first of the month, I do that.
So do I. Yeah. But
Okay.
like I said, I don't have that much on my C drive, but I do it anyway.
That's why I like Time Machine. It does it every 15 seconds. It just backs up.
Yeah, I played with that and I thought about that, but then I
Yeah.
decided not to do that.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah,
I happen to like things that I don't have to remember to back up manually. 'Cause it's-
Yeah.
and the reason why I do it that way, and the reason why I use that Macrohelm Reflect is because that's what Quantum PC company here recommends. And so therefore, if you do have a problem, I'm sure they're familiar with all of them, but at least they're really familiar with, I would think,
Well, I think that's a good idea, Tom. I mean,
You
that's
know?
what you have to do. There's no question. Just how you do
because
it.
I'm not gonna, if there's a problem, I'm not gonna fix it. I can go down to a store and buy a new PC, but that's my whole ability in the
You
thing,
need the data. Yeah.
The rest of it is not, I can't do. Not very well anyway.
You're not supposed to trust a portable hard drive more than 5 years if you're a
Right,
preservation
right.
person.
You're not supposed to trust your PC or your regular hard drive either, more than about 5 years.
Or you're not supposed to do it with your flash drives or your thumb drive. Or whatever you
Yeah,
call
with
it.
the
Yeah.
discs
That's
anymore.
why the cloud is such a nice
Yeah.
backstop.
Yeah.
Whichever ones you use, doesn't matter.
Right now,
Most of the-
Microsoft is being heavily attacked.
Most of the programs you have now are all cloud-based anyway.
Yes.
You don't usually buy a program that is disk, oriented anymore. You buy a cloud-based program.
That's why I was surprised with Genealogy that most of these companies haven't converted everything to a cloud-based one, so they don't have to do updates for millions
Yeah.
of people. They just
Yeah, I
do it
know.
on the cloud. But
Mhm.
Laura, what were you saying, Laura? You made a comment about that.
Well, right now, Microsoft is getting a lot of attacks for their servers.
Yeah. The hacking. But I look at it, you're right. And I look at it, who better to be attacked, me or them?
Yeah.
They've got the resources to fight it. I don't. I wouldn't even know if I got attacked. I probably wouldn't even know it unless I ran some software package.
I got to tell you, I've had 3 email scams in the last few weeks
Oh yeah.
on PayPal. And I don't know if anybody
Yes.
has seen these.
Yes.
They tell you that your thing has been compromised. If you
Yes.
look at that email, it is dead ringer for actual stuff I get from PayPal.
Right. Oh yeah. The only difference
I
is,
didn't quite understand it and I didn't trust it. So I went in directly myself and it was bogus. So I sent it on to the company, but apparently
Yeah.
they've been getting hammered.
That's exactly right. I have both county email and library system email, and both of them are making us take classes over and over and over, and they keep sending us test emails to trick us. And
Oh, gee.
oh wow.
it's a real problem. My son does IT in Texas with a health group connected to the United Healthcare, and they're having trouble. At one point,
Yeah.
all their computers
They've
were
been- they've
hacked
been-
and doctors
they've
were
been
using
Under
paper.
attack.
Yeah, so it's been an ongoing problem right this minute, that all of these servers are being attacked. But those are the business servers mainly.
Do you guys have multiple email addresses? Because one of the things I'm finding is an old email I used to use probably 15 years ago when we first hooked up with Charter. I don't use it very much anymore, but almost all the scams are coming to that email. So when I look on the email, you can click on your name and figure out which email address it came to. The minute it comes through to one of those emails, I know it's not legit and it came out of the dark web. Is what's
Sure.
happening. You're resurrecting all this stuff.
Yes. I've been going
This is a heads
through
up that sometimes it's not all your emails, it's one that you're not using much of anymore.
Yeah,
I do a lot of work on Google with Google. So Google has a program that you can run, which will identify websites that you have an attachment to or you've accessed. Okay. And then it'll tell you if it's been compromised, and it'll tell you if you got a weak password or if it tell you it's not used, or and so the idea is you go through and you get rid of all the ones you're not using, And so I've been going through that. And I'm like you, Steve, I found all these ones that I haven't used for years, you know?
Yeah.
For years and years and years. And also websites that I haven't gone to for years and years and years. And I'm slowly trying to get, and the difficult thing is you can't just go and erase them, the website, because it won't erase your ID and your password. When you do that, the account will still be there.
And one of the problems is the minute you go in there and look at them, now they know you're still active until they hit you
Right.
again. So,
Right. So you got to
I
go
use
in
it through a
there.
VPN and they all think I'm living in California or New York or Illinois all the time.
Yep.
So they don't know
Yeah.
where I am, fortunately. But yeah, you're right. All of a sudden you told them, it's kind of like when they ask you if you want to opt out of something or quit getting emails. The minute you click on it, you've just told them you're a live wire.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yep. There's a couple of real good sites. Let's see if I can get to them without losing all of you. Let's see. That see, I'm taxing my ability here. There's a couple of good sites. Where to go? Where to go? Where am I? Where am I? There I am. Okay. But anyway, they're like, what is it? Google, not Google. Oh, How to Geek is a good site. Yeah, you can get a newsletter, comes out daily, and it's got all different articles.
It's really good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I like that one, and there's another one too that comes out with the articles, and some of them, they're meaningless to me, but some are very good. Like here's one that would be applicable to genealogy. It says how to add a missing place to Google Maps.
Yeah.
How to sync files in. Well, we don't do Microsoft Teams, but
I gotta just interject on that How to Geek. I look at it, sometimes they come too often. I mean, every day.
Oh yeah, they all do.
But there was an article that they had a while back, January 10th, on how to create a family tree in Microsoft PowerPoint. And I was very interested in that. And I printed it out, so much so. Haven't done it yet, but it looks pretty much straightforward. I thought it was kind of a neat option. So, I mean, they've got articles like that besides telling you, that what to look out for. And I've learned a lot from it, but I get a little behind because I really don't read it every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And not every day there's stuff, that I'm going to look at, but.
Does everybody use a VPN?
No,
Yes.
I don't, but.
I do.
I would highly recommend that you do that.
I need to reconnect again. I logged off before there.
Which VPN do you use?
I use Tunnel Bear.
I use Nord.
It's probably not the
NordVPN.
best one, but it's no brainer.
Yeah. NordVPN.
Yeah, that's the one I have, NordVPN also.
Yeah.
What
I use that
what
too.
is it? Nord, N-O-R-D?
Yes. And it's worldwide, so.
Pardon?
Now,
I'm
look
sure
for
you're.
the ones that are out there because some of them get to be very expensive because they've got so many bells and whistles on them
Yeah.
for business
Mhm.
driven applications than
I think
individual
mine was. I'm thinking mine was like.
really simple and not real costly. They probably cost you $50 to $75 a year, but you can't be tracked on it.
I don't think mine was that much. I looked for a special and I got it for like $3 a month or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I remember. Okay.
So
Yeah, I got the same deal, Tom.
What is
that?
the advantage of having a VPN?
It makes you look like it's going through a tunnel, so they think you're actually somebody else.
They think you're in a different location. You could be anywhere in the world. You can set it up where you want it to go. And sometimes you want to get into sites overseas.
Yeah.
You go in with a US address or VPN number. If they won't let you in. So I set if I want to get something out of England, I'll set it to an English. You can go in and determine what country you want your VPN to go to. Now they think you're in England and they'll let you do things.
It's also more secure for doing some sort of a business thing, because
It's
people
supposed to
see what you're doing.
encrypt your
Yeah,
signals.
it does the 256 encryption. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's supposed to be safer. So,
Huh.
and one of the things that we all do, and I do too, is terrible. First thing you should do is never reuse a password.
Yeah,
Never.
right.
Right? How can you possibly, and you can buy a password protector, like iPass or iPassword or whatever it is.
1Password, yeah.
1Pass, that's the one I'm trying to think of, 1Pass.
I use Keychain, which is built into the Apple products, so it works on all of our things. And
Yeah.
it's, I think the passwords that they're generating for me now are 16 or 20 characters.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
With
And
every
the
symbol.
other thing is don't save, they have these password. You go to a site and you log in and immediately it says, save your ID and your password. Never do that. And we all
Oh,
do that.
Lord, I do that all the time.
I do that all the time too.
Only save it to a password monitor, yeah.
Yep, only save it to a password monitor.
See, I was only thinking of the standpoint of, I've encrypted my computer, so no one can get in it unless, so therefore I think I'm safe that I encrypted it. So therefore, when I get into my sites, I have them save the passwords.
Yeah.
Get your
Because I
password.
don't want to keep looking them up all the time.
If
Well,
get the
right,
password
right.
to your device. Well, that's why these like 1Pass or like Keychain on the Apple, if I go to a website or an app and I have to log in, I put my cursor in the username. It flashes up, do you want to use your password in Keychain? You hit yes. In my case, I put my thumb on my ID unit, it loads in my password and my username, and away we go.
Yeah, but then, okay, let's say you're going to go back to that same site and log in another day, next week, next month. Do they change your password again?
No,
No.
the password is in a separate file, and all they're doing is they're my brain. I can't remember passwords like everybody.
Well, that's why I save mine. But
right, so then it puts it in there automatically. It doesn't change the password. The password, if you go, let's say you go to your banking site, your password doesn't change just because you go another day.
yeah,
Okay, you may want to change your password periodically.
right.
And a lot of the password services will tell you, this one you've had for a while, you might want to change it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the other thing that like 1Pass or Keychain does. You want to change your password, they generate it for you. You don't have to come up with it.
Oh, and that's where they hack you, is that the fact that you come up with it versus
Because
someone
you can come
else.
up with something.
Totally random. That's
Okay.
why
This is totally random. You'll never remember it.
16 characters or
And
whatever it is.
I have to say, I should never say it, but I've not had any problems with the system working.
Okay. Well, the thing I guess I was trying to determine and what was the difference, but if I create my own password, that is more susceptible to hacking than if I tell this other service, 1Pass or whatever, to create my password for me.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It depends on how long and how many uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols that you put into that password. The other thing the problem that people have run into is a lot of websites dictate what your password has to look like.
Mhm,
For example, it might say you can only use the $sign, the %sign, and the
Yeah.
ampersand. Okay. Whereas another one might say, well, we want you to use the star, the @ sign, or whatever. These services know that. They read that into the website. And so when they generate a number for you, they don't miscreate it.
But why am I having them create a password for me when I can do my own?
Because they will do it so fast and you don't have to ever remember it.
Okay. I was trying to think of the advantage and disadvantage, or,
If I could never remember a password, or I lost all my passwords on Keychain, I'd be in deep doo-doo. But
okay,
again,
got
it's
it.
backed up to the cloud, it's backed up to my external.
Plus, they are more likely to have a more secure type of password setup that I would probably
I
create.
would like to think that.
I would like to.
I don't know, you use OnePass, Tom?
No, not yet. I've
Oh.
looked at it a couple times. I'm working on it, Steve.
Yeah, but, you know, and I'm not trying to sell Apple or anything. I've just become an Apple. Tom knows I'm an Apple lover.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
all
working
built
on it.
into my system, and my wife and I share the same account. So when she wants to go to a Home Depot,
That's
if you ever wanted to go to Home Depot,
That's the problem
all
I
you
have
have to
too.
do is start, open it up, put the cursor in the name, and it'll tell her to log in with this. Just put your thumb on there, and it'll load in everything, and away she goes
So it recognizes 2 thumbs?
on her devices. Just
Oh,
her
really?
thumb on her device allows her to get into that file.
Okay, okay,
Okay, I can't put my thumb on her device.
okay.
I can put the password in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Your master password or
yeah, we have the same password for both of
yeah,
us.
you have a master password. Yeah, yeah.
But this file is accessible to any device on your account. The
Right,
key.
right. Yeah, okay.
So we have
Okay.
8 devices on our account. They're all accessible to it. Or
Huh.
6, I think now. And
I
and it also works with Apple TV.
Hey, Tom, I love you.
Oh,
I love your background, Tom. You look like a judge.
oh, do I? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because of this? Yeah, this
Well,
is
yeah, and your
actually,
background all went
Yeah,
foggy.
it's
Let's all
all
have our shots
blurry.
because we've all had haircuts.
Hey. you can change the background. Yeah.
And here's my COVID hair still hanging around.
Oh, I got rid of my COVID hair.
Mm.
Yesterday was our Freedom Day.
Oh, you had your second shot?
No, we're 2 weeks beyond our second shot.
Oh,
Yeah, we
oh.
are too. We had our second shots 2 weeks ago yesterday.
That's what we did too.
Yeah.
In fact, I went and gave my granddaughter a hug yesterday.
Nice.
She's in quarantine now, though. Somebody in one of her classes was tested positive, so she got thrown out of school for 2 weeks.
Oh dear.
And I think 6 kids in the class sat around this kid, so they all.
Yeah, yeah.
She is not a very happy camper as a sophomore in high school.
No.
No, I imagine not.
Well, we're over an hour, so I think we
Oh
should.
my, okay.
That was a really interesting discussion on cloud storage.
More than you ever
Trying to bring it
thought, right?
around
I
more.
thought, right. I want to throw one thing out there. We had planned to have Larry Desitel, who joined us not long ago, talk about his book, The Captured, the Sick, and the Dead.
Mhm.
And it happened to be planned not unknowingly on Inauguration Day. So exactly at the time of inauguration almost. So nobody came, so we rescheduled it, and he's going to be talking about his book Monday at 10 a.m. So if anyone would like to join, he did a lot of genealogy research for his
Yeah,
book.
I read the book and the amount of detail that's in there is amazing. It almost, it was overpowering how much detail he had in there.
Yeah,
And,
gets carried away with it, just like all of us, right?
yeah, oh gosh, I mean, what's that? Yeah, I read it and my goodness. He spent a lot of time on that thing. But
Well,
it was
have a
interesting.
good afternoon, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks, the beginning of the next month, right?
Right, oh, I think it's the 1st, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's April Fool's Day is the 1st.
Okay,
But we're really
Thursday the
gonna,
1st.
but we're really gonna be here, aren't we?
Yeah, hope so.
Just checking if it's April Fool's joke.
God willing.
God willing, and the dike don't break, yeah.